Here we will see explicit mode of transaction in SQL Server. In explicit mode of transaction, the developer is only responsible for beginning of the transaction as well as ending of the transaction. That is, transactions that have start and end explicitly written by the programmer are called explicit transaction. Here every transaction should start with the begin transaction statement and ends with either rollback transaction statement or a commit transaction statement. The explicit transaction mode is most commonly used in triggers, store procedures, and application programs. After committing the transaction, the data modification will be persisted in the database. It gives the flexibility to decide whether you want to save the changes performed by the query or not. Begin transaction indicates the starting point of the transaction. Rollback transaction starts the rollback process and reverts any changes performed by the transaction. It might take long time depending on the changes performed earlier. And commit transaction. It commits the changes in the database. Once we issued a commit transaction, it cannot be a rollback. We can achieve the transaction control using the explicit transactions similar to specifying the set implicit transaction on. For example, first we'll set the implicit transaction off, then we'll write begin transaction and we'll write insert command to insert the data in person table. And when we give commit transaction, it will insert a new record in person table. Now we'll check this explicit transaction in SQL Server. First we'll set implicit transaction off. First we'll use the database project 1. Then we'll give begin transaction. Then we'll give insert command. So insert into person. We will give field name as person ID, last name, first name and address, and we'll give the values, and lastly we'll give commit. And we execute this, it will give one row affected. To check it, we will use select star from person. It will display fifth record is inserted in this table. Now we will execute this again, and this time we will give rollback. And we execute this, and we will use select star from person. Since we have used rollback here, for person ID 6, the record is not inserted here.